Before we continue with the story, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly makes a difference and helps us grow. Now let's get back to the story. My cheating wife, who was seeking a divorce, had no idea that I was earning $500 a year. Nicholas's real estate journey started from humble beginnings. Raised in a modest household and unable to afford college, he chose a career in construction. With a strong work ethic and attention to detail, Nicholas excelled and soon saw potential in real estate investment. His first property renovation began with a dilapidated condo he found at work. Intrigued by the challenge, he bought it, sparking his passion for buying, fixing, and selling homes. The early days were tough. Nicholas worked long hours juggling projects while learning real estate. His hard work paid off as he gained a reputation for transforming neglected properties into attractive homes. This success brought him financial stability, allowing him to take on larger projects and become a self-made millionaire. Despite his wealth, Nicholas stayed grounded and always looked for new opportunities, taking pride in making a profit on each sale. By age 52, with over 3 decades of experience, Nicholas became an expert. He lived mortgage-free in a beautifully restored home he'd purchased at a great price. His renovations had doubled its value, giving him financial freedom for future deals. Nicholas's entry into real estate was almost accidental. While working in an area with affordable condos, he found one needing repair, listed for $150,000, while similar units sold for $225,000. Nicholas estimated repair costs of $25,000 to $30,000 but didn't have $150,000. With the realtor's help, he secured a reconstruction loan. After a lengthy approval process, Nicholas owned his first investment. Balancing a full-time job, he worked on the condo in his spare time. He hired workers, but their poor quality work forced him to fix their mistakes, costing him time and money. To speed up the process, Nicholas took 2 weeks off and worked 12-hour days to finish the project. He faced unexpected issues, like replacing the air conditioning system, adding unplanned expenses. He listed the condo before completion, and a neighbor offered to buy it for his mother. Nicholas allowed the buyer to choose colors and carpeting. Once finished, the condo had new floors, cabinets, appliances, and an air conditioning system. The buyer agreed to pay $250,000. Nicholas put $40,000 into the renovation, ensuring professionals handled the work. After closing costs and realtor commissions, he made a $35,000 profit in 3 months. Delighted with his first venture, he gained insights for future deals. Eager to expand his knowledge, Nicholas attended real estate seminars and learned about hard money lenders who offered quick loans for renovations with high interest rates. To streamline operations, Nicholas became a licensed realtor, granting him access to the MLS for independent property searches. He also earned commissions from buying and selling, boosting his income. Over the years, Nicholas bought, renovated, and sold many properties, starting with condos and moving to larger homes. By reinvesting profits, he was able to buy properties outright, allowing faster transactions. As his business grew, Nicholas outsourced renovation work to a trusted contractor, focusing on acquiring properties. At one point, he managed multiple homes in various renovation stages. By now, Nicholas had a net worth over $1 million, much in cash, earning a steady 6-figure income. Despite his wealth, he maintained a modest lifestyle, and few knew the extent of his success. 5 years into his real estate career, Nicholas married Kate Becker, a woman from a wealthy family. Kate's family initially noted his lack of formal education but grew to respect Nicholas for his drive and achievements. They had 3 daughters, Isabella, Karen, and Nicole, who now had families of their own. The family gathered for holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving, although only Isabella lived nearby. Kate worked as a materials manager at a manufacturing company and enjoyed coordinating with vendors and suppliers. One Friday, Nicholas finalized the purchase of a home in a working-class neighborhood. It belonged to an elderly couple, with the husband recently deceased. Their children, 1,500 miles away, needed to sell the house to move their mother into a nursing home. The property was in poor condition and hard to sell. A realtor recommended Nicholas, who specialized in renovation. He noted significant repairs were needed on the foundation, roof, electrical system. The yard was overgrown and the driveway cracked. Inside, the house was full of furniture and kitchenware, and the garage was packed with catering equipment, suggesting a home business. The children knew similar homes were valued at $315,000, but Nicholas offered $250,000, explaining it needed at least $50,000 in renovations. Since the house was paid off, the children agreed to split the profit. The deal closed the next Friday, and by 3:30 p.m., Nicholas had the keys. He decided to go home to surprise Kate with the news. Her car was in the garage, which was unusual. He found the house quiet with no sign of her. After pouring himself a drink, he heard the shower upstairs. Entering the bedroom, he saw cocktail dresses, lingerie, high heels, and fishnet stockings laid out. Kate's perfume and bright red lipstick were on the dressing table. Perplexed, Nicholas sat down and waited. When Kate emerged from the shower, she didn't notice him. She started styling her hair and applying makeup. "What's going on?" Nicholas asked calmly. Kate jumped, startled. "Nicholas, you scared me. I didn't know you were home." "I finished the deal early and decided to come home," Nicholas said. "I thought I'd surprise you and take you out to celebrate. But it looks like you have plans. Care to explain?" "Yes, darling," Kate replied, trying to stay composed. "I'm going out to dinner with a friend." Nicholas remained calm but questioned further. "From the clothes, it doesn't seem like just any friend. This is a man, isn't it? And those shoes? You plan to go dancing?" "Yes, darling," she admitted. "We thought we'd go dancing to make the evening more fun." "Who's this friend?" Nicholas asked, his suspicion growing. "His name is Jonah Bennett. He's a sales rep for the paper company we buy from. He's in town once a month, and we've had lunch a few times. He's polite and attentive," Kate quickly added, trying to sound nonchalant. "It's not really a date, just dinner and chatting." Not fully convinced, Nicholas shifted the conversation, trying to mask his discomfort. "Which dress are you planning to wear?" "I'm not sure," she replied, a hint of excitement in her voice. "Maybe you can help me decide." Nicholas eyed the clothes laid out on the bed and commented, "Red will certainly catch a man's attention, but it's a bit much for a first date. On the other hand, no man can resist a sexy black cocktail dress." He paused, glancing at her with a knowing look. "You haven't dressed like this for me in a while. What's so special about tonight?" "Black it is," Kate said, brushing off his question with a dismissive wave of her hand. She turned back to the mirror, examining her reflection with a critical eye. Nicholas realized that it had been quite a while since she had dressed up like this for him. They had fallen into a routine where he would take her to casual dinners to celebrate his deals, often at local chains like Red Lobster or TGI Fridays. The idea of her putting in this much effort for an evening out that didn't include him left him feeling uneasy. Feeling a bit off, Nicholas excused himself to get another drink, needing to clear his thoughts. As he sipped his rum, his mind raced. Kate was clearly preparing for a date, no matter how much she downplayed it as just a casual dinner with a friend. Her choices in clothing and accessories told a different story, and Nicholas couldn't understand why she thought he would accept it so easily. When he came back, Kate was slipping thigh-high stockings onto her legs, the delicate lace contrasting with her skin. "Those are new, aren't they?" Nicholas asked, unable to mask his curiosity. "Yes, I bought them today to go with my dress," she answered casually, smoothing the material. Nicholas frowned, feeling the weight of the situation. "It's been a long time since you dressed like this for me," he said. "Why all this effort for a so-called friend?" "I just wanted to look good," Kate responded, her tone trying to sound carefree, but it didn't quite ring true. She busied herself with her makeup, avoiding eye contact. Nicholas shot her a pointed look. "You know, with that dress, you don't even need a bra," he commented. "Just be careful not to spill out of it when you bend over." "Good point," Kate said nonchalantly, a small smile playing on her lips. "I'll skip the bra and watch myself, just like you said." Nicholas could tell that she assumed he was perfectly fine with her plans. She seemed to think he might even enjoy the idea of her going out with another man, but she was wrong. His mind was a whirl of emotions, from doubt to jealousy. "I was thinking of wearing my diamond necklace and earrings," Kate said, holding them up to her neck. "What do you think?" "Stick with black to match the dress," Nicholas suggested, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "How about the black sapphire pendant? It will fall perfectly between your chest, and the matching earrings will complete the look." Kate smiled, clearly pleased with his input, but Nicholas's calm exterior hid the fury boiling inside him. After Kate put on her cocktail dress, she asked him to button it up for her, turning her back to him and revealing the smooth expanse of her skin. She turned to admire herself in the mirror, showing off her leg before packing her dancing shoes into her bag. Then she asked Nicholas to bring her a half glass of spiced rum, saying she felt a bit restless. As she took the glass from him, their fingers brushed briefly, and Nicholas wondered when they had last shared such a moment. Nicholas sensed that Kate wanted a moment alone. "Of course, it's going to be a special night for you," he said, leaving the door ajar. As he glanced back, Kate quickly grabbed something from his nightstand and slipped it into her purse. He had a good idea of what it was. Downstairs, he poured himself a double rum. When he returned, Kate was at her vanity. "Thank you, darling," she said, sipping. Nicholas gave her a long look. "You've never looked more beautiful." "Thank you," Kate replied lightly. "I'm glad you understand. I promise to make it up to you soon. Maybe dinner, a show, and a passionate night." "We'll see," Nicholas said indifferently. Kate checked her watch. "I have to go. Don't want to be late." At the front door, Nicholas stopped her. "Let me take a few photos." Kate smiled and posed. Nicholas directed her by the door, snapping photos. "Lean forward a bit, but don't fall out of the dress. Lift the hem to show more leg and stocking top." Feeling confident, Kate followed his instructions. After checking her watch, she said, "I really need to go. Don't wait up." "Don't worry, I won't," Nicholas replied calmly. Before leaving, Kate asked, "Kiss me and wish me a good evening." Turning her cheek, Nicholas slapped her hard. Kate recoiled, shocked. "Nicholas, why?" she asked, trembling. Nicholas stepped closer, cold. "Did you think I'd let you go on a date dressed like that?" "Confused and afraid," Kate said, "but you seemed fine with it. You even helped me." Nicholas slapped her other cheek. Visibly shaken, Kate stood frozen. "In what world do you think I'd accept this disrespect?" Nicholas demanded. "Did you think I'd let you leave like this?" Tears formed in Kate's eyes. "It was just dinner," she cried. Nicholas snatched her purse and pulled out condoms. "You took these when I went downstairs, didn't you?" Kate stumbled over her words. "They were just in case." Nicholas, his anger growing, spoke through gritted teeth. "You've seriously misjudged me." Kate fell to her knees, her voice cracking with desperation as she pleaded for forgiveness. She was willing to cancel her evening plans, hoping it might soften Nicholas's anger, but his expression remained cold and unmoved. "Stay, and I'll make you regret it," he warned, thrusting her coat and purse into her hands with a finality that chilled her. "Get out now. Don't come back until tomorrow." With a forceful shove, he pushed her out the door, his grip firm as he took her house key and garage remote. "Go stay with Isabella, or find somewhere else." "I don't care," he added with an icy detachment. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Kate stumbled into her car, her vision blurred by tears that cascaded down her cheeks. As she drove away, each sob felt like a jagged stone in her chest. Nicholas watched her taillights disappear into the night before turning back inside. His eyes fell on her abandoned dancing shoes, the satin glistening softly in the dim light. "She won't be needing those tonight," he thought bitterly, his exhaustion a heavy cloud over him. Nicholas poured himself another drink, the amber liquid swirling in his glass as he sank into a chair, overwhelmed by a torrent of emotions, anger, humiliation, and a dull, persistent ache in his chest. As the weight of it all pressed down on him, Nicholas felt his eyes sting with unshed tears. Deep down, he knew something had to change. The thought of kicking Kate out entirely crossed his mind, imagining her belongings stuffed into trash bags on the curb. But the prospect of such a drastic move felt too daunting, too final. Then, a simpler, more pragmatic idea struck him. Just hours earlier, he had finalized the purchase of a fully furnished house, complete with utilities and Wi-Fi. An opportunity for a fresh start, he realized. A plan began to form in his mind, bringing a slight smile to his lips as he started to pack. By 11:00 p.m., Nicholas had gathered his essentials, clothes, his laptop, and a selection of personal items into 2 suitcases. He left the house key and garage remote on the kitchen table, his resolve hardening with each passing moment. The 45-minute drive to his new home was a silent one, filled only with the low hum of the engine and his own thoughts. Arriving at the new house, Nicholas parked by the side entrance and let himself inside. The air was cool and slightly musty, the house clean but clearly in need of repairs. As he walked through each room, he made mental notes of the work ahead. Worn kitchen cabinets, scuffed flooring, outdated appliances, and dim light fixtures. Normally, Nicholas tackled renovations with speed and efficiency, but this time he wanted to take it slow, savoring each step toward creating something uniquely his own. He unloaded his car. noting the previous owner's belongings still occupying half of the storage space. They had left behind various pieces of furniture and an old computer in the office, remnants of another life. Setting up his own computer, Nicholas felt the alcohol's effects dulling his senses, though his mind raced with thoughts of the future and the possibilities it held. Pulling fresh sheets from the linen closet, Nicholas quickly made the bed and collapsed onto it, exhaustion pulling him under as he fell asleep in his shorts. The events of the previous day lingered in his mind, a bittersweet reminder of what he was leaving behind and the uncertain path ahead. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the room, and Nicholas woke early, his head pounding slightly from a hangover. He had forgotten to close the curtains the night before. After a quick shower, he dressed casually and brewed coffee using an old coffee maker left by the previous owners, finding a jar of coffee beans in the pantry. He felt satisfied as he brewed the coffee on the gas stove, which, despite its age, still worked well. As he sipped the coffee, Nicholas explored the kitchen. It was well stocked with pots, pans, utensils, glassware, and 2 sets of china. He later learned the previous owner had inherited both her mother's and mother-in-law's china. Nicholas made a quick breakfast and cleaned up before checking the garage, filled with catering equipment from the former owner's business. The backyard had a nice partially enclosed patio with hanging plants and outdoor lights, though it needed some work. In one corner sat an old, rusty barbecue that Nicholas decided to replace. After his inspection, Nicholas began planning renovations. He arranged a sale for the leftover items, donating or discarding what didn't sell. He noticed the yard was overgrown, the brick flower beds were cracked, and the driveway needed repair. The concrete block walls surrounding the property were also damaged. Nicholas called his contractor, Roberto Fernandez, to discuss renovation plans. While waiting, he met his neighbor, Hoang, a Vietnamese widow who lived with her elderly mother. Hoang offered to introduce him to the neighborhood, which Nicholas appreciated. When Roberto arrived, they walked through the house, discussing needed repairs. Roberto noted the house had the least curb appeal on the street and agreed it needed significant work. After finalizing the plan, Roberto left and Nicholas was alone again. Nicholas checked his phone and saw missed calls, mostly from his wife, filled with apologies and requests to talk. The last message was from his daughter, Isabella, asking what he had done to her mom. She said Kate claimed Nicholas had moved out and struck her. Isabella begged him to come home and fix things. Nicholas called Isabella back, and she confronted him. He asked if her mother explained why he left. When Isabella said it couldn't have been that serious, Nicholas explained that her mother had essentially abandoned him. He asked Isabella to get the full story from her mom before they spoke again. Isabella agreed and mentioned that her mom was staying with them for a few days. Over the next 3 days, Nicholas didn't hear from Isabella. During that time, Roberto began working on Nicholas's yard, fixing the damaged walls with decorative block caps. Nicholas also asked Roberto to repair neighborhood walls, earning thanks from neighbors. He even had Roberto's crew fix driveways in the cul-de-sac with protective coatings. Despite the cost, Nicholas felt it was worth it to boost property value. He arranged a sale to clear house clutter, which was successful. While cleaning up, Isabella called. "Dad, we need to meet. There's something important you don't know," she said. Nicholas replied, "I know what I saw." Isabella insisted, saying her mom had explained everything and didn't blame Nicholas. She even scolded her mom for her behavior. Isabella offered to meet to discuss crucial details. Feeling her distress, Nicholas agreed to meet the next day at 11:00 a.m. at a TGI Fridays near her home. They exchanged "I love yous" before hanging up. The house renovation continued, and Nicholas ordered new windows. Many existing ones were painted shut. He also ordered French doors with screen doors for the family room and master bedroom. The next morning, Nicholas arrived at TGI Fridays at 11:00 a.m. Isabella was already waiting. They hugged and got a corner table, both ordering coffee. The restaurant was quiet. Nicholas got to the point. "What do you want to talk about, Isabella? If this is about what I did after your mom got ready for her date, I don't regret it. I won't tolerate disrespect." "Dad," Isabella began, "this is more serious than you realize. You won't like this, but you need to know. Mom is devastated. She's so remorseful. She can't stop crying. She deeply regrets what she did to you." Isabella explained her mom had been struggling, working each day only to return to an empty house. "I don't feel anything for her after what she did," Nicholas replied coldly. Isabella pulled 2 items from her bag, a brown envelope and a letter-sized one. "Dad," she said, holding up the smaller envelope, This is Mom's apology letter. She knows you don't want to talk and isn't sure she can face you. She's ashamed. You can throw it away, but here it is. Maybe you'll read it later." Nicholas raised an eyebrow and asked about the larger envelope. "This one's different," Isabella explained. "It's a detailed account of Mom's relationship with the man she went on a date with. I asked her to write it down, and she did." Nicholas shook his head. "Why should I read it?" Isabella shrugged. "I don't really care, Dad. It's not for you. It's for HR at Mom's job." Nicholas was puzzled. Why would they care about something Mom did on her own time with someone outside of her company? "Dad," Isabella said softly, holding his hands with a sorrowful expression, "I need to tell you what happened after you kicked Mom out. It's going to hurt, but it's better if I tell you myself. I told her to stay with you for the night. I didn't want her near me. I was confused. I couldn't be around her anymore." Nicholas nodded quietly. "I understand," he murmured, when Isabella mentioned the long drive. "You told her to find a motel or a hotel, right?" Isabella nodded. "Mom was in pain, not just from the slaps, but because she realized the damage she'd done. No matter how angry you were, she knew she'd hurt you deeply. She was lost, too. One minute, you were helping her get ready for her date, and the next, you were hitting her and yelling at her." "I didn't yell," Nicholas cut in firmly. "I told her calmly that I thought she was planning to cheat on me." "She says she never intended to sleep with him," Isabella said quietly. "She took the protection from your nightstand." "I know, Dad," Isabella continued. "But the situation looked different to you. When Mom left, she was confused and full of regret. She planned to meet Jonah to end things and then stay at my place. At that point, she still thought he was just a friend." Isabella went on, while Nicholas stayed quiet, processing her words. "When Mom got to the hotel, she went straight to the ladies' room. Her makeup was ruined, her face swollen and red. She freshened up and then walked into the restaurant, where Jonah had a table. She didn't greet him with a kiss or a hug. He sensed something was wrong. She got to the point, but broke down crying. He tried to comfort her, hugging her and telling her it would be okay. He ordered a glass of wine and she drank it quickly on an empty stomach. Jonah told her not to worry about their relationship and that he understood, but he thought you were too controlling. Then he ordered a bottle of wine and started criticizing you, Dad. He said no real man would ever hit a woman. As the wine took effect, Mom relaxed and kept drinking. Soon, she felt the full impact of the alcohol. She told Jonah she needed to leave and go to my place, but he insisted she wasn't in a condition to drive, and she probably wasn't. Mom said if she couldn't drive, she'd just get a hotel room and come to my place in the morning. Jonah checked, but the hotel was fully booked due to a convention. So he invited her to rest in his room for a few hours. She was so drunk she needed help just to get to the elevator. Isabella paused, watching her father closely. Nicholas stayed silent, his expression hardening as he absorbed every word. Inside Evan's room, Isabella recounted. Lucy was initially helped to the couch by Evan, but things quickly changed. He moved from helping her to kissing her shoulder. Lucy pushed him away, upset, insisting that their relationship was over. She only wanted to rest because she felt unsteady and nearly collapsed onto the couch. Evan lifted her legs onto the couch and removed her shoes. She recalled him rubbing her feet, but soon after, she fell asleep. Ethan sat quietly, tension visible as Isabella continued. The next memory Mom has is an intimate encounter. It was over quickly. She mentioned she believed it was you. She didn't realize she wasn't at home in your room. Ethan pounded his fist on the table. So she ended up with him regardless, he exclaimed. Dad, Isabella interjected. Mom didn't agree to be intimate with him. Ethan shook his head, frustrated. She wears revealing clothes for a date, meets him at his hotel cafe, shares drinks with him, and then goes up to his room. Now she's claiming she didn't consent. Is that truly the case? Yes, Dad, Isabella replied softly, but there's more. Early in the morning as dawn broke, Mom awoke to find a man beside her, his hand on her arm, trying again. She pushed him away and jumped from the couch. Now clear-headed but with a migraine, she understood what had happened. Evan had intoxicated her and taken advantage while she slept. He tried again in the morning. She yelled at him, declaring she never wanted to see him again. He just laughed and said she didn't feel that way the previous night. Ethan paled as he processed the information, while Isabella continued. Mom realized what had happened and felt embarrassed for letting him mislead her. She understood all he wanted was to get her into bed. She freshened up, got dressed, and left the hotel, hoping to find you at home and confess to seek your forgiveness, but saw you'd already moved out. Mom was overwhelmed by guilt and remorse. Ethan leaned back, overwhelmed by what he had just learned. Isabella went on. Mom called me afterward and told me you hit her and threw her out. She was still muddled but desperate to speak with you. When she arrived at my house, she was shaken, and it took time for her to share the whole story. I believe her, Dad. Ethan looked at the table before asking, "What about the items she took from my nightstand? Was she going to use those?" "She wasn't going to use them, Dad," Isabella said. "She took them thinking it would help her say no. It was just a precaution, not something she intended to use." Nicholas shook his head skeptically. "That's hard to believe. I need more convincing." Isabella paused, took a deep breath, and said, "Dad, Mom's seeing a counselor. She's trying to understand her actions. The counselor suggested reaching out to you, but we knew you wouldn't want to be involved. I've been going to the sessions to make sense of it all." Nicholas stayed silent for a while, the weight of everything pressing on him before speaking. "I'm not going to counseling. Kate made her choices and has to live with them." Isabella nodded. Mom's HR reviewed her statement, consulted their lawyer, and found nothing to support the mistreatment allegations against Jonah. It was a he said, she said situation. They passed her account to Jonah's HR. He admitted to having sex with Mom but claimed it was consensual. Neither company pressed charges, but Jonah's employer fired him for being involved with a married woman. Nicholas and Isabella sat in silence, the conversation weighing on them both. Nicholas struggled to process it all. He had hoped that some distance would help him and Kate find their way back to normal, but now everything felt irreparably changed. Despite Isabella's explanation, Nicholas couldn't shake the feeling that it might not have been an accident. Conflicted, Nicholas decided to do nothing for now. He would continue with his new life and avoid Kate. He spoke with Isabella occasionally, but she kept urging him to talk to Kate and try to fix things. Nicholas knew the emotional wound would take time to heal, but he wasn't ready to consider divorce yet. Instead, he focused on renovating his new home and helping neighbors with theirs. Over time, Nicholas returned to work, buying, renovating, and flipping distressed properties. He transformed a cul-de-sac, even landscaping a small island in the center for neighbors to gather. Soon, the local women noticed Nicholas's lack of cooking skills and began bringing him meals, casseroles, meatloaf, and other home-cooked dishes. One afternoon, as Nicholas reviewed a spreadsheet, he heard a knock at the door. Nicholas saved his work and opened the door, surprised to see Kate. "Didn't expect to see you here," he said, stunned. "How did you find me?" Kate didn't respond directly, instead asking, "Can I come in?" Much of Nicholas's anger had faded over time, and despite his shock, he replied, "Please come in." He noticed Kate had dressed up, wearing a white sundress and matching flats, her hair loose and put together. Kate entered with several grocery bags. "Where's your kitchen?" she asked. Nicholas pointed to the kitchen door, and Kate walked in, placing the bags on the counter before stepping back to look around. "It's a bit bare, but nice. You've made progress," she said. "I'm not finished yet, but it's livable," Nicholas replied. "Can I see the rest of the house?" Kate asked. "Sure," Nicholas said, leading her through the living room, down the hallway, and into each bedroom. In the master bedroom, he explained what he had done and what still needed work. Kate noticed the smaller closet compared to their old home. "It's fine for me," Nicholas said. "I don't need much space." She also commented on the smaller bed. "It works for me," he responded. "A bigger one would just take up too much room." Kate suggested ideas for curtains and carpeting like she used to when they renovated homes together. Nicholas showed her the new French doors leading to the patio. Kate stepped out, admiring the cozy area. "This would be perfect for relaxing after dinner," she said. "I often do," Nicholas agreed. "With a glass of wine helps me unwind." Back inside, Nicholas wondered about her unexpected visit. "How did you find me?" he asked again. "It wasn't easy," Kate admitted, "but your colleagues at the real estate office helped. I drove by and saw your car. I thought hard about disrupting your new life, but I needed to see you. So I decided to come and cook dinner. I know you're not great in the kitchen, so I brought everything for meatloaf. I figured I could cook and then leave you alone. You can help if you want, or finish your work. I'll call you when it's ready." Nicholas nodded. "I've got a spreadsheet to finish, but I'll check in soon." About 20 minutes later, Nicholas walked into the kitchen to find Kate busy with the meal. She turned to him, eyes filled with tears, and said, "You don't really need my help, do you? Your fridge is full. I didn't find a single frozen dinner." "The neighbors have been great about bringing me food," Nicholas explained. I've helped them with home projects and they return the favor with casseroles or brisket. But I'm looking forward to your meatloaf and appreciate you making it. Kate laughed softly. That's just an excuse to see you, she said. I've missed you. If you read my letter, you know I'm sorry for everything. But I wanted to tell you in person how deeply regretful I am. I made a mistake. Nicholas sighed, his frustration still lingering, a storm brewing in his chest. Kate, I know you're sorry. Isabella told me everything about that night, he said, his voice softer than he expected. At first, I thought you went through with it, but Isabella convinced me that you were manipulated. I don't think she'd lie to make you look better, but we don't need to go over it all tonight. Kate nodded, visibly relieved that the topic had shifted, her shoulders visibly relaxing. Dinner's ready, she said, attempting a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. This meatloaf will last you for days. I hope you enjoy it. She grabbed her purse and made her way toward the door, her steps hesitant as if weighing each one. Wait, Nicholas called out, a hint of desperation in his voice. Won't you stay for dinner? I've set the table for two, but no, Kate replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I really wanted to see you, but I don't want to overstep into your new life. If it's okay, I'd like to come back next Friday and cook for you again. That sounds great, Nicholas said, an unexpected warmth spreading through him. But next time, I'd like you to stay. We can have dinner together and share a glass of wine on the patio. Kate hesitated, her gaze softening, a flicker of genuine emotion passing over her features. I'd like that, she said, but I'll have to see how guilty I still feel. With that, she turned and walked out the door, her departure leaving a palpable void driving away into the dusk. After she left, Nicholas found himself filled with an unexpected sense of loneliness. He had grown accustomed to living alone, to the quiet of his new life without his wife, but seeing her again, even in such a brief encounter, brought back the emptiness he thought he'd learned to live with. His feelings for Kate were complicated. Hurt and anger still lingered over her betrayal, but at the same time, he missed her. Nicholas found himself missing their life together, the way everything once felt easy, the comfort of their routines. He wandered through the house, each room a reminder of the life they once shared, the laughter echoing in the walls, the late-night conversations on the couch, the quiet mornings with coffee in hand. It was clear that Kate was trying to rekindle that, trying to return to who she once was. The following Friday, Kate came back. This time, she brought steaks for Nicholas to grill while she prepared a salad, potatoes, and vegetables. Nicholas had a bottle of wine ready, the rich aroma filling the kitchen as they began sipping it, the clinking of glasses mingling with the sizzle of the grill. They ate outside on the small patio at a table set for two, the evening air cool and refreshing. The conversation was light and easy, laughter punctuating their words. Kate asked about Nicholas's work and the houses he had been renovating, her interest genuine, her eyes lighting up with curiosity while Nicholas inquired about her daily life. She shared that she had more free time these days, spending it mostly reading and attending a book club, her face softening as she talked about her latest read. When Nicholas asked about her job, he immediately regretted it when she mentioned still feeling uncomfortable there. No one had openly addressed the incident with the salesman, but it was clear everyone knew what had happened. Her voice faltered slightly, but she quickly masked it with a smile, changing the subject to a recent trip she took with her book club, a hint of wistfulness in her tone. As the evening drew to a close, Nicholas realized how much he appreciated her company, the warmth of shared moments reigniting something he thought he had lost. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, he felt a twinge of hope. After a pleasant evening, Kate again declined staying longer, saying she didn't want to disrupt Nicholas's new life. She added that she looked forward to their weekly dinners, and Nicholas agreed, feeling a warm anticipation for these gatherings. It was becoming a comforting routine he found himself eagerly looking forward to. 4 weeks later, Nicholas emailed Kate on Thursday to let her know that his cul-de-sac was hosting a party on Saturday, so she didn't need to cook on Friday or bring anything. Kate replied, graciously offering to bring a bowl of her famous potato salad to contribute to the event, a dish that had earned her compliments at past gatherings. When Nicholas opened the door Saturday afternoon, he was taken aback by how stunning Kate looked. She wore a pretty summer dress with a modest neckline, the soft fabric swaying gently around her knees. They spent some time relaxing in the living room, sipping iced tea and chatting about their week before heading over to the party, which was set to start around 3:00 p.m. Kate mentioned she wanted to make a good impression on the neighbors, her eyes twinkling with a mix of nerves and excitement, but Nicholas also knew she wanted to look good for him. The hosts were busy setting up tables covered with cheerful tablecloths, and neighbors began to bring out lounge chairs, arranging them in clusters for comfortable conversation. One neighbor, an enthusiastic barbecue fan, manned a large grill, the aroma of sizzling steak, chicken, and sausage wafting through the air, mingling with the scent of freshly cut grass. Most of the neighbors had brought beer, wine, and other drinks in coolers, and Nicholas contributed several bottles of his favorite dark red wine, prized for its rich, full-bodied flavor. As people began to arrive, Nicholas introduced Kate with pride. Many seemed surprised to learn that he was married. Some even admitted they hadn't known. Questions about why Nicholas and Kate weren't living together floated around, occasionally making the couple feel awkward throughout the day. Nicholas received numerous compliments on how beautiful and charming his wife was, his chest swelling with pride. Kate, on the other hand, heard many stories about how much Nicholas had helped the neighborhood since moving in. Neighbors praised the improvements Nicholas had made to their homes, mentioning how he had organized community cleanup days and had been instrumental in starting a neighborhood garden. Though everyone worked hard, Kate could tell that the people here took more pride in their properties ever since Nicholas had arrived, their lawns meticulously maintained and flowers blooming vibrantly. As the party progressed, laughter and chatter filled the air. The men gathered to discuss sports, animatedly debating their favorite team's prospects for the upcoming season, while the women gravitated toward Kate, curious about her relationship with Nicholas and why they weren't living together. Meanwhile, children played on the street, their giggles echoing as they drew colorful chalk masterpieces on the pavement. By late evening, as the sky turned a dusky pink, the party began to wind down. Parents gathered their kids, who reluctantly left their games to head home. Everyone pitched in to clean up, packing away chairs and tables, and Nicholas carried some beach chairs back to his house, realizing he'd had more wine than he intended. It was clear that Kate had drunk a little too much as well, her cheeks flushed and her laughter frequent. Once they were home, she began gathering her things to leave, a gentle reluctance in her movements, savoring the warmth of the evening one last time. "I don't think it's safe for you to drive tonight," Nicholas said, noticing how much she had drunk. Kate looked at him unsure. "What should I do?" she asked, not wanting to impose by staying over. "You can sleep in the guest room," Nicholas suggested. "I've got a t-shirt you can wear." "Thanks, Nicholas," she replied. "I don't want to be any trouble." Nicholas went to his room and returned with a plain white t-shirt. Kate took it from him and headed to the guest room, closing the door behind her. As he adjusted the lights and thermostat, he heard his name softly called. Turning, he saw Kate in the hallway wearing the t-shirt. It clung to her figure, and the towel was still wrapped around her waist. "Nicholas," she whispered tentatively, "could you give me a hug good night?" Nicholas was momentarily frozen, struck by her beauty. Memories he had buried resurfaced, and his anger faded. He stepped forward and hugged her. Kate wrapped her arms around his neck, resting her head on his shoulder. After a few moments, she quickly pulled away and returned to the guest room, closing the door quietly. Nicholas exhaled deeply, almost relieved the hug was brief. He felt his reaction to her closeness and knew if it had lasted any longer, she might have noticed. The next morning, Nicholas woke with a slight headache. Hearing the shower, he realized Kate was up. After taking painkillers, he went to the kitchen and found Kate cheerfully making breakfast. She was wearing a sundress and preparing bacon, eggs, toast, coffee, and juice. "Your neighbors might bring dinner," she said, "but you don't seem to have a decent breakfast. All I found were frozen breakfast sandwiches." "Yeah, you're right," Nicholas agreed with a smile. "I usually just grab one or a protein shake." "It's such a nice morning," Kate said, glancing outside. "Why don't we eat on the patio?" "That sounds great," Nicholas said, setting the table for two. When Kate brought the food out, Nicholas pulled out her chair and she smiled at the gesture. "Thank you for last night and this morning," she said softly. "I haven't felt this happy in a long time." "I feel the same way," Nick replied. Kate hesitated, choosing her words carefully. She needed some clarity. "Do you know when you might want to come back home?" she asked lightly. Nick paused, then answered, "I'm not sure if I want to come back home." Kate's expression faltered, but she quickly hid her disappointment. His answer showed he wasn't ready to return to their past. "All right," she said quietly. "I'll wait until you're ready. Until then, I'd love to come by on Fridays and cook for you." "I'd like that," Nick agreed. "You've always been the best cook." Kate wondered if Nick valued her only for her cooking, but his tone made her feel there was more to it. Even if he wasn't ready to admit it, she decided not to rush him. The next Friday, Kate arrived in a pink pleated skirt and a cashmere sweater that accentuated her figure. Nick opened the door with a smile. "What's for dinner tonight?" he asked. "I brought marbled ribeye steaks," Kate said, grinning. "You can grill them while I make a salad. I also brought 2 bottles of red wine. Maybe we'll drink enough that you'll ask me to stay again." Nick chuckled, unaware of how their relationship was subtly changing. He still felt some anger, unsure how to address it without ruining the mood. "We'll see how the night goes," Nick replied casually, lighting the grill. Kate moved to the kitchen, chopping salad ingredients while Nick poured them each a glass of wine. He handed one to her, taking the other to the patio and leaving the bottle on the table. After a while, Kate set the salad on the table, and Nick started grilling the steaks. "They'll be ready in about 10 minutes, he said, turning to her. Kate raised her wine glass with a quiet smile. "To hoping you'll let me back into your life," she said softly. Nick wasn't expecting the toast and felt caught off guard. He was a bit embarrassed, unsure how to respond. "We'll talk later," he murmured, focusing back on the steaks. After a few moments of silence, Nick announced that dinner was ready, and they sat down to eat. The meal passed quietly until Nick broke the silence. "I'm sorry things turned out this way," he said softly. Kate nearly choked on her food, surprised by his words. She reached across the table, taking his hand. "Thank you. I was so afraid you'd think I was unfaithful and never forgive me." Nick's expression softened. "Sometimes I think if I hadn't kicked you out, none of this would have happened." Kate squeezed his hand. "It wasn't your fault," she said. "I got swept away by a smooth-talking salesman. I'll never forgive myself for hurting you. I'll spend my life making it up to you if you'll let me." Nick chuckled lightly, trying to ease the mood. "Well, lettuce is a good start." After dinner, with the dishes done, Nick asked if Kate wanted to watch a movie. "Sure," she said, smiling. "But you picked this time. I want to watch something you'd enjoy." "You know I'm into action movies," Nick teased, full of violence, nudity, and strong language. "Perfect," Kate grinned. "I'll stick with chick flicks with my friends." Nick scrolled through Netflix, choosing an action-packed film they might both like. As the movie started, Kate returned from the bathroom, her rose perfume filling the air. She sat next to him, close enough for Nick to feel her warmth. Without asking, she rested her head on his chest. Nick draped his arm over her shoulder, his emotions swirling. He noticed her skirt had ridden up and the top buttons of her sweater were undone, hinting at cleavage. Despite everything, Nick couldn't deny how beautiful Kate still was. His attention wandered as the movie played, but he found it hard to focus. Soon, Kate fell asleep, her soft breathing against him. Nick let her rest until the movie ended, then gently woke her. "You're not going to make me leave tonight, are you?" Kate mumbled, getting up. "I don't think I should drive home so late." Nick hesitated. "You can stay," he said. "The guest room's open." Kate smiled but didn't go to the guest room immediately. She went into the bathroom and returned in a black satin negligee. It was simple yet alluring, and Nick couldn't help but stare. "Do you like my new nightwear?" she asked softly, posing slightly. Nick was mesmerized. "I like it," he murmured. "I forgot how stunning you can be when you want my attention." Encouraged, Kate stepped closer, her arms around his neck, her body brushing against his. "I don't want either of us to spend the night alone," she whispered. Nick felt the familiar pull of desire as his resistance began to fade. "I'm aware you haven't fully forgiven me," Kate continued, her voice tinged with emotion, her eyes searching his face for any sign of softening. "But don't let that stop you from enjoying tonight. You can do whatever you want with me, anything." All of Nick's hesitation evaporated like mist in the morning sun. He pulled Kate to him, their lips meeting in a desperate, passionate kiss that seemed to erase the doubts lingering between them. He ran his fingers through her hair, savoring the silky strands as he tilted her head to kiss her neck, making her sigh softly, a sound that sent a thrill down his spine. Before long, he swept her off her feet and carried her to his bedroom, laying her down on the bed with a sudden urgency that matched the pounding of his heart. As he climbed on top of her, Kate's hands roamed his body, pulling him closer with a need that mirrored his own. As they gave in to their desires, Kate couldn't help but think, how could I have ever thought anyone else could compare to this? She arched toward him, feeling the heat of his every movement, the intensity between them building like a crescendo. That night, they both released months of unspoken tension, making love repeatedly before finally falling asleep in each other's arms, the room still echoing with the remnants of their passion. For Nick, it felt as though all the anger and frustration had finally melted away, and Kate had never seemed more beautiful. more desirable than in those quiet moments afterward. The following morning, they sat on the patio, enjoying a quiet breakfast together. The birds sang their morning songs, and the cool breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers. Kate, still radiating from the night before, took a slow breath and began. "Nick," she started softly, her voice laced with regret. "I know how deeply I hurt you, and I'll never make that mistake again. But we've been apart for almost 6 months now. Don't you think it's time we move forward and live together again?" Nick paused, setting his fork down and wiping his mouth with a napkin. His gaze drifted to the bright morning sky as he mulled over her words, the sunlight casting a warm glow over everything it touched. Finally, he turned back to her, his expression serious. "I've thought about it," he said slowly, "but I've already made my decision." Kate's heart dropped, her pulse quickening as she braced herself for his answer. She could feel the tension in the air, a fragile thread that might snap at any moment. Nick continued, "First off, the old house is too big for me now. It made sense when the kids were around, but now it feels empty. Honestly, I never really fit in with the neighbors. They're all professionals, college-educated, and I barely finished high school. I don't have much in common with them." "But Nick," Kate interrupted, her voice desperate, "you've done so well. You make just as much as they do with your renovations. Our house is one of the best around thanks to your work." Nick shook his head, a distant look in his eyes as he stared at the horizon, lost in thought. "What I'm saying is, this place is my home now. These are the people I want around me. When this house is finished, it'll be the perfect size for me. I'm not going back to the old house." Kate's face fell, a wave of disappointment washing over her. "Oh, Nick, that's not what I hoped to hear." She stood up quickly, trying to mask her hurt with a brave face. "I need to go," she said, her voice cracking. Within minutes, she gathered her things and left, leaving Nick to wrestle with his feelings. He hadn't meant to hurt her, but deep down, he knew he didn't want to return to their old life. The new house and its routine had become his sanctuary, a place where he felt truly at peace. For 2 weeks, Nick didn't hear from Kate. Each day felt like a balancing act between the comfort of his new life and the longing for what they had shared. Then, one Friday afternoon, there was a knock at his door. When he opened it, he was stunned to find Kate standing there, 3 suitcases in tow, her eyes sparkling with determination. "I have 2 more in the car," she said casually, walking in and setting the luggage down with an air of finality. "What's going on?" Nick asked, perplexed as he helped her with the rest, feeling a mix of surprise and anticipation. Kate stepped closer, wrapping her arms around his neck and kissing him deeply, a kiss that seemed to erase the distance that had grown between them. "If you're going to live in this house," she said with a mischievous smile, "then it's my house too." Nick took a step back, shaking his head. "Kate, you're not going to be happy here. There's barely enough room for your things, especially your clothes. In the old house, you took up every closet." Kate smiled gently, a look of resolve softening her features. "I got rid of almost everything. What's left is in these suitcases." Her eyes held his steady and sure, as if to say that her decision was as permanent as it was heartfelt. Nicholas sighed, concerned. "But you'll still need more closet space," he said. Knowing the master bedroom was small, he considered expanding into his office by knocking down a wall but hadn't decided yet. "What about your job?" Nicholas asked. "It's a long drive from here and traffic makes it worse." "I don't have a job anymore," Kate replied calmly. "I quit." Nicholas was surprised. "Why would you do that?" "Too much gossip. Some salespeople kept spreading rumors," she explained. "And you've always said you earn enough for both of us, so now I'm not working. I'll figure something out." Nicholas looked skeptical. "Kate, you won't want to stay home all day. Most neighbors work, so you'll be alone." "I've thought about that," she said. "Maybe I'll do charity work. I have a degree in accounting, studied psychology, and speak some Spanish. I want to help women in bad situations and broken families, but first, I need to fix ours." Kate hugged Nicholas tightly, kissing him again. Nicholas felt himself softening, unsure how to resist her. "I hope you didn't get rid of all your cocktail dresses and heels," Nicholas whispered with a grin. "I kept a few," Kate said, intrigued. "Why?" "Maybe once a month we could have a fancy night out," Nicholas suggested. "I wouldn't mind dressing up and going dancing with a gorgeous woman in a cocktail dress, maybe even stay in a nice hotel afterward." Kate's face lit up with excitement. "I love that idea," she said, kissing him deeply. "Welcome home." "Welcome home," Nicholas murmured, lifting her and carrying her to the bedroom. "Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and comment. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next video.